Hello and welcome to my project for Texas local government. Today we'll be going over an issue that is important to the state of Texas and how it affects it. Looking at both sides of the issue, the positive and the negatives, and seeing whether or not this particular problem has a solution for the state. So again, welcome to Texas local government, understanding today's issues. Um, Looking at Texas, we have a population size of 31.7 million. We're only second behind to California. Our GDP yields $2.7 trillion statewide again, become second to California. But when we're looking at the global scale, we are comparable to entire countries such as Russia or Italy. Um, Additionally, to match that GDP, we also have an abundance of natural resources, land, cattle, oil, natural gas, technology, textiles, cotton, right? These are all things that Texas is proficient in and definitely has a huge yield on when it comes to the markets. In addition, we also have a strong military presence. Besides having our own Texas State Guard, Texas does supply a lot of military force to the United States as a whole. We have tons of military bases that enact drills and do real life missions. But yes, altogether, these items are just important when it comes to understanding the machine that is Texas. Um, I did go ahead and research a little bit certain topics that have been discussed within the state of Texas. I did my own polling uh, survey with a couple of people that are personal to me, friends, family, coworkers, etc., in consideration on what is an important issue to consider for pro and cons uh, for the state, right? A couple of issues that came up was immigration slash border security, taxes, and healthcare. Ultimately, I chose term limits. Um, Texas does not have term limits for its local officials, um, but this is actually a subject that was pretty consistently brought up with the people that I had discussed uh, this with, and this is an important topic that needs to be discussed within the state of Texas. So, without a doubt, we're definitely going to get into term limits, a hot topic for a heated state. Looking into Texas politics, just like our federal side, we have a legislative, executive, and judicial branch. Both the Texas House and Texas Senate meet every odd year for 140 days starting in January at the same time. That's how our legislator works. We have 150 House members who serve a uh, maximum of 2 years before they get elected upon again. Um, we have 31 senators. They serve for 4 years and then are elected. We have one governor serving for 4 years and one lieutenant governor serving for 4 years. However, even though I'm using the word term, uh, none of these individuals actually have a limitation on how many times they can serve. So within doing the research of this subject, I wanted to make sure that it was not one-sided for a pro or con. I wanted to look at both the positives and the negatives of the subject and hone in a good stance or a good argument for each side. So, and we will be going over these subjects a little more in detail. But for the pro side, I said more opportunities for people. This would be in reference to the second subject as well, fresh ideas. To have a term limit would allow a um, more of a revolving door for citizens to uh, gain a seat in the House or the Senate and be a leader for their particular district or community that they're representing. Uh, Less corruption. What we see in the federal side is people who become career politicians and gain some type of financial wealth while having the secured position of enacting policy. I don't necessarily see that stateside. I know that the senators and the representatives do gain some type of pension, but it's not that much. Most of the individuals that I know who serve in the legislature, um, do also hold down a steady job as well to gain their financial wealth. And a chance for a change. Enacting this type of policy to the state's constitution would probably open the door for many other opportunities and realizations to be had. For the con side, right? We have the constant change could result in a lack of policy. There are some, I wouldn't use career politicians because I feel like that has a negative connotation, but long-standing um, representatives and senators that are currently there. I do know for the House side, like there's Jay Dean and Sophronia Thompson. They have both been there for, I would say, more than 2 decades. I know for the Senate side, there is Symphonia Thompson, sorry, Zeffirini. She's also been in the Senate for a very long time. Um, People like that uh, understand and get a good feel for what it means to serve the state of Texas. And you can see by the fruits of their labor that the policy that they enact is a direct result of them being there for so long. Um, Less time to see plans reach full conclusion. It's kind of branching off the second, or sorry, the first topic. Um, the fact that there are no term limits does allow for certain people to get in that seat and play the long game and definitely enact policy that will stand the test of time for the state of Texas. Again, same topic for the pro side, less corruption. There may be a possibility of just because you're getting more people, uh, newer people in those seats, would enact less corruption. It's not necessarily true. It needs to be considered for both sides, pro and con. It very well could be that the constant revolvement of people in those seats could still enact um, foul play or any type of corruption to be had. And then lastly, voters don't show up. Um, just because there is a new topic to be had doesn't necessarily mean that voters will show up and voice their opinions for that. But like I said, we're going in depth a little bit here. Um, on the pro side, like I said, it would possibly eliminate the idea of career politicians, and would definitely encourage more individuals to potentially rise up and claim those seats in the House and the Senate. You might even get a more accurate representation of Texas and what is currently um, affecting the state. Uh, I feel that like a lot of people get like this idea of like a bunch of old people kind of just sitting around and talking about yesteryear and stuff, and maybe getting more young people, more vibrant people, more down with the times people could positively reflect a representation of what Texas is looking like. Um, for an example, if we did like a 6 year term max, so for representatives, right, they could only serve um, 3 times, right? 2 times 3, 6 years. For Senate, I don't know if they would want to do the same thing, but having that firm deadline would also kind of turn on the heat a little bit and say, hey, listen, like you can't dilly-dally. We need you guys to actually enact policy that's going to positively affect the state of Texas. With that, the fresh ideas and the less corruption would also follow suit. Um, and it might eliminate decades of bad policy that gets set in place. For cons in depth, right? We don't know. We don't know if the rapid change would garner any type of success, right? We don't know if just putting someone new in the driver's seat would necessarily allow for policy to be quote unquote better. We do see in the executive branch that whenever a new candidate steps in, we get this political whiplash, right? The state could very well see the same thing, right? And we don't know whether or not that would also enact districts to flip more consistently or more currently, I guess is a better word. Um, and then, like I said, just because you're getting someone new into the seat doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be the professional type to nurture policy that may need years to fully develop, right? We don't necessarily know if just because we're putting the pedal to the metal and getting people in and out and putting a deadline on things doesn't necessarily mean that positive policy will come about it. So that could very well be a con of putting a term limit on um, these individuals. Additionally, and then you can see here from the quote on the side from my research, we're not necessarily seeing a very positive incline of voters, whether it's voting fatigue, people not being educated, people just not caring straight up. We don't know if giving this opportunity necessarily would allow people to, or not allow, but I guess excite people to come to the ballot box and get people into those seats. But in conclusion, right, when looking at Texas, we need to consider whether or not term limits will, kill the idea of career politicians, actually allow for new people to um, take a seat at the front, or give policy that will really be either positive or detrimental to the state. It very well may disrupt multiple levels of Texas politics. This would obviously have to come about as a um, resolution within the House or the Senate chamber that would necessarily rewrite the Constitution of Texas, and that very well may need for the rewriting of several things within the Constitution and how we operate. It's not like Texas is doing this all by itself. Um, there are other states currently that do have term limits for their local officials. So we very well could look at those people in those states and see what does and doesn't work for us. But truly, moving forward, if we are going to do something like this, we definitely need to hear from all sides and, gain public opinion when it comes to this and whether or not it will be a new norm for the state of Texas. But um, thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate your time. Again, this was a very, very interesting thing to research, and um, I'm wondering if this will ever really be a thing that reaches the public's eye. I know that it has been a topic that has been discussed for a long, 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 long time. But I mean, I think whenever I researched it, we had like 13 or 16 states that currently have term limits for their local officials. So I wonder if Texas would follow suit because we do see that from both Democrat ran states and Republican ran states. But again, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you participating in this presentation. Thank you.